Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. Today, we're going to have a little bit of fun and play a little game. The name of this game is Bee or Not the Bee. Yeah, for those that don't know, the Babylon Bee is an online satirical website that brings you news stories that are not true, basically. But they're funny because they illustrate a real truth. And after a while, many of the funny satire pieces actually started becoming true. So they actually launched another website called Not the Bee. And this website actually has actual stories that are true, but sound like satire. Are you following? Are you tracking here? So today I'm going to bring you 9 stories from either the Bee, the Babylon Bee, or Not the Bee. And it's up to you to guess which one each story belongs to. Is it a real story or is it a satirical one? Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Here's the very first one. California. This is the title. California reminds voters there are just 30 days left to vote in last Tuesday's election. California election officials reminded voters over the weekend that there are just 30 days left to mail in their vote for the Los Angeles mayoral election that happened last Tuesday. With the in-person portion of the election day over, officials made sure voters knew that they have just 30 days left to cast their votes by mail before officials start counting ballots to determine a winner. Quote, "Only one more month, everyone," unquote. That's the California elections official, Carrie Schwimmer, and she announced this saying, "I can say with authority that we will absolutely cut things off right around then, unless we don't," unquote. Well, at the close of last Tuesday's primary election, Republican candidate Spencer Pratt was ranked second behind incumbent Karen Bass. After a week of tallying mail-in votes, socialist candidate Nitha Raman had reportedly overtaken Pratt and was now on pace to advance to the general election with Bass. Officials said voting would continue until Raman had officially secured second place and not a moment longer. Quote, "Last Tuesday election will only go on for another 4, maybe 5 weeks tops," said Schwimmer. "We have to cut things off somewhere, and now that 2 Democrats are ahead, we'd better start closing things out," unquote. At publishing time, election officials had declared Karen Bass the winner in November's general election. So, having brought you this story, was this story something from the Babylon Bee, the satirical one, or was this Not the Bee, the actual news story? Yeah, it was the Bee. It was the Bee. It was satirical. But California law actually gives election officials weeks after Election Day to finish counting and certifying results. But there are actually a couple of different clocks running that people kind of blur together oftentimes. Under Assembly Bill 5, counties must finish counting most ballots. It actually says that, most ballots, within 13 days after Election Day. Certain stragglers, like late arriving valid mail ballots, provisionals, and signature cure ballots, can be processed after that, but the bulk of the count must be done by then. County canvass period does come into play as well. Counties legally have up to 30 days or a whole month after Election Day to complete their official canvass. which includes verifying and counting all election ballots, eligible ballots, and auditing results. So, in a way, this could have actually fallen under not the B, but we'll count it as the B. All right, number 2. Here we go. Comes out of Louisiana. Louisiana sheriff gives Gator Deputy of the Year award for stopping DUI suspect with his teeth. Here's a story that is so Louisiana, I'll be surprised if we don't see this scene in the inevitable remake of The Waterboy. After striking a concrete barrier near New Orleans and blowing out a tire, 40-year-old DUI suspect Victor Rivas allegedly jumped off an elevated highway straight into a swamp during a DUI stop. He showed the classic signs of impairment, slurred speech, glassy eyes, and the unshakable confidence that fleeing on foot into a Louisiana swamp was a great idea. Cops lost him temporarily, but later spotted him strolling down another highway. And when law enforcement approached for round 2, our hero made the same brilliant tactical decision: back into the swamp. That's when Mother Nature introduced him to one of her local friends. An alligator emerged from the murky water, ready to nominate Rivas for the Darwin Awards. The gator latched on to him, thrashing around and turning Rivas's arm into its personal chew toy for a solid 30 seconds. Rivas tried to continue to flee law enforcement despite the injuries to his arm, according to authorities. But he was found using drones and taken into custody after first receiving treatment for his injuries at a hospital, and the sheriff's office said his injuries were not considered life-threatening. Now, Rivas has been booked at Nelson Coleman Correctional Center on charges of driving while impaired and resisting an officer, according to the sheriff. State police said they have warrants for his arrest and additional charges related to the initial highway crash that prompted their traffic stop. But to top it all off, the sheriff gives an award to the alligator for attacking the DUI suspect. So, is that an actual story, or is it a satirical story? Yeah, this actually came from Not the Bee. It's an actual story. It is true that St. Charles Parish Sheriff's Office did give the alligator the award. So I would love to see the pictures of that. But anyway, all right. So how are you doing so far? Are you 2 for 2? Are you 0 for 2? 1 and 1? Well, number 3, here we go. James Tallarico is backtracking on his woke beliefs now that he's in the general election. James Tallarico, the most insanely leftist candidate to ever run in a statewide election in Texas, has decided that it's important to pretend to be a moderate Democrat on his face-off against Ken Paxton. The man who puts gay children's books in his church library now says that trans surgeries for kids are off the table. The guy who just said, "I oppose gender reassignment surgeries for minors," just also said, "I love, and I am just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children." He said that when asked to name one of the things he loves. And if you believe that, I've got a bridge for sale. But don't trust what I'm saying. Tallarico himself voted against a ban on taxpayer funding for trans surgeries on kids. He's on the record for that. Tallarico also seems to be a friend of the oil industry suddenly, despite being a climate cultist who has voted for laws that hurt the energy industry. James Tallarico, quote, said, this is his quote, "We have to protect good paying oil and gas jobs," unquote. Yet he introduced a 2021 bill known as the Texas Climate Action Act. It proposed requiring the state to create a plan reducing greenhouse gas emissions to 10% of 1990 levels by 2050. So, was that the bee, the Babylon Bee, or not the bee? Yeah, that was not the bee. Yeah, we've covered James Tallarico a few times here on the podcast, and James Tallarico, for those that don't know, he's a candidate that cosplays as a pastor. You know what cosplay is, right? It is where someone dresses up like another person or even an animal and pretends that they are that character, right? Well, Tallarico cosplays that he is a Christian, but supports any policy that goes against the Bible. And in fact, he'll try to bring up the Bible to justify his policy and his leanings very, very left. So, number 4, bad sign. Big Mac now listed as market price. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics revealed on Tuesday that America may be heading into a major economic depression following the announcement by the McDonald's Corporation that Big Macs will now be listed at market price. According to sources, the entire McDonald's menu has seen increases across the board, but no items were so hard on customers as the fluctuating price of a Big Mac, which changes day to day based on the current market price. Quote, people will do anything for 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, and onions on a sesame seed bun. This is what the McDonald's CEO, Chris Kempczinski, said on the company's reasoning behind the dramatic price change. Quote, just be glad we're not demanding your firstborn peasant. Yeah, McDonald's customers not known to frequent upscale seafood restaurants or where items are often listed at market price found themselves befuddled by the large market price label. Initial confusion led to a sharp decrease in sales as customers were simply too afraid to ask about it until McDonald's marketing geniuses included additional verbiage to turn market price into a fun game. Quote, what does the Big Mac cost today? Search the restaurant for clues and unlock great taste. That's what a poster at every location read. And according to sources, Big Mac market prices range anywhere from $8.39 to $449.99. At publishing time, sales of the Big Mac had declined sharply due to antisocial customers being too afraid to ask what the current price was. So yeah, I had to throw an easy one in there, right? That is the B, but it's funny because there again is truth behind it. The average U.S. restaurant menu prices have increased 31% from February 2020 to April 2025, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, and reported by the National Restaurant Association. Some McDonald's and Jack in the Box prices actually have risen 100%. Yeah, that is a bunch. All right, so at least you have one, right? You're at least like 1 for 3 at the very worst, right? Well, here's number 5. Liberals give us their 10 most convincing arguments for abortion. Among Americans, there remains an ever-growing divide between those who are pro-life and those who are pro-killing their baby. In an attempt to bridge this divide, the Babylon Bee interviewed thousands of liberals to hear their compelling reasons to murder infants. Here are the 10 most convincing liberal arguments for abortion. Number 1, Planned Parenthood gives out free cookies with every abortion. And everybody loves cookies. Number 2, the baby may develop acne as a teenager and get called pepperoni face. Well, abortion is a mercy. No human being has ever survived acne. Number 3, diapers are clogging up landfills. Yeah, well, unless we stop climate change now, there won't be a world for babies to be born into. Number 4, with two liberals living together, there's already enough crying in the house. And really, that makes logical sense, doesn't it? Number 5, the baby may be a cisgender straight male. Yeah, bringing more of those into the world must be avoided at all costs. Number 6, children require affection and resources better spent on a cat. Mr. Fuzzy Face demands attention, of course. Number 7, everyone should have the right to commit murder if it makes life more convenient. You know, there's nothing more important than making things easier for yourself. Number 8, animals kill their young all the time, which means it's natural, right? Just be like an animal. Cosplay if you can, right? Number 9, having a baby may prevent you from showering yourself with love and attention. No way. Number 10, last one. The baby could grow up to be a Republican. Yeah, that's worst case scenario right there. So, was this a B or not the B? Yeah, it was the B. But, you know, a bit of good news. Support for abortion in the U.S. has actually dropped a whopping 10% in the last 2 years. Yeah, that's good news, right? All right, number 6, Chick-fil-A debuts weekly Saturday evening bulk deliveries to help you survive Sunday. Chick-fil-A has introduced a subscription service that allows you to take bulk delivery of their delicious food every Saturday evening to help you survive every Sunday morning. Subscribers receive a bulk delivery every Saturday evening before Chick-fil-A closes with enough food to get their family through the trial and tribulation of an entire Sunday without Chick-fil-A. Quote, tired of braving the lengthy Chick-fil-A line just before closing every Saturday night? This is what a Chick-fil-A rep asked. Now you don't have to bother putting in your order every week or rushing to beat closing time. Instead, you'll wake up Sunday morning to the delicious smell of Chick-fil-A on your doorstep. The restaurants got the idea after they noticed families ransacking the restaurant every night in a desperate attempt to pick up food before it's too late. Company spokespeople said that when the open light goes off on Saturday night, there are still screaming families outside banging on the door and begging for just one more Chick-fil-A order. The boxes containing your bulk delivery of chicken sandwiches, milkshakes, nuggets, and fries will be equipped with a sound chip, like the ones used in expensive greeting cards. When you open the box, a pre-recorded message will say, "My pleasure." Chick-fil-A Saturday subscriptions, as they're going to call it, are expected to run anywhere from $50 per week for a family of 4 to $1,000 per week for a homeschool family. So what do you think? Was this a B or not the B? Yeah, this is the B. But seriously, though, who hasn't made the joke after heading home from church of saying, "You want to get Chick-fil-A for lunch?" And by the way, my wife told me today that the peach milkshakes are back. Oh, got to get one. All right. Is Chick-fil-A still open? All right. Number 7. Democrats say everything is perfectly all right at the LA Ballot Center after socialist candidate achieves statistically impossible comeback. They say this is just democracy in action. Jacob Skoboroff is an anchor on MSNBC, MS Now, whatever they call it, one of the chosen media outlets for Democrat propaganda. He says everything is totally fine and there's nothing to see here. Democracy in action. Meanwhile, Decision Desk HQ projects Neethra Raman wins the second of the two spots in the California Los Angeles mayor nonpartisan primary. Now, Neethra Raman is the Zohran Mamdani of Los Angeles, and she is an extremely wealthy champagne socialist who wants Los Angeles to become even more progressive than it has under current Democratic Mayor Karen Bass. She was a solid 8 points behind Republican reality star Spencer Pratt on Election Day. And as many people anticipated over the last week, the distant third place Raman has managed to overcome her deficit despite her dismal polling and debate performance. This democracy in action is a statistical impossibility. Theoretically, the math is possible, but it has never happened in history. The odds are so unlikely that the human mind is incapable of comprehending it. Pratt believes the 43,000 votes may be related to the estimated 43,000 homeless people living on the streets of Los Angeles. In May, a Democrat activist pled guilty to paying homeless people on Skid Row to register to vote, and which put them on the voter rolls, and she had spent decades doing this. The voter rolls, my friends, are the root of the problem. California's lists of registered voters include numerous fake and deceased individuals. Millions of fake, illegal, and dead people could be voting for specific targeted candidates, and no one has audited the rolls to make sure it isn't all a scam. For example, Nick Shirley posted a post saying, "Meet Doris. She lives in California and is registered as a 126-year-old who has voted in 51 elections and has no idea. California's voting system is so corrupt that by simply knocking on the door of the 126-year-old proves election fraud." Well, in May, Governor Gavin Newsom signed SB 73. It's a law that bans election observers from challenging signatures on ballot envelopes. Yeah, it bans them from doing that. Voters are also not required to sign their own ballots. A witness can do that for them. There is now no mechanism to challenge these ballot dumps. Bill Esseley, U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, says he wants to conduct an audit of California's voter rolls. The U.S. Department of Justice has been trying to do this for more than a year since Trump took office. And this is what he posts. He says, California allows first-time voters to register using forms of ID that most Americans would find surprising, including gym membership card, employer ID card, credit or debit card, prescription drug label, insurance card. California provides free health coverage to illegal aliens. This is permitted when a voter fails to provide a social security number or driver's license at registration. Our office believes this policy deserves a closer look. And we also have serious concerns about how California maintains its voter rolls. There are open questions about whether the state is promptly removing deceased voters, people who have moved, and individuals convicted of disqualifying felonies. On top of that, California allows third parties to collect and turn in ballots on voters' behalf, a practice known as ballot harvesting, with few restrictions. This makes it difficult to track who actually received, completed, and submitted each ballot. The problem with Esseley's, the problem is what he says, is that Congress has not given the DOJ power to investigate a state's voter rolls for its own state and local elections. If one party takes complete control of the democratic, in quotes, process and enacts mass fraud to stay in power forever, consider the fact that North Koreans are required to vote, the federal government has limited power to investigate. All right, so was this the B or not the B? Yep, this was not the B. And really, when you get right down, this is just another reason that we need the SAVE Act. All right, we're getting down to it now. We're at number 8. So number 8. Muslims go off on British children's book company for posting cartoon of lesbian mom in hijab. Ladybird Books is a London-based publisher for children's books. Last week they posted this, and basically it's a cartoon of two ladies coming through a door with rainbows above it and a sign on the door that says "Everybody welcome here." There is a rainbow heart picture on the wall and stuff. They are in an embrace and have a baby in their arms. But the weird thing about the picture is that one of the women is wearing a hijab, and the words "Everyone should feel to be themselves, no matter who they are or who they love." Well, this attempt at marketing did not go well. Yeah, a major children's book company owned by Penguin Random House is featuring a lesbian couple to celebrate Pride Month, and one of those lesbians is a devout Muslim in a hijab. As you can imagine, the company got quite a bit of backlash from right-wing extremists who pointed out the ridiculousness of this. In fact, Jennifer Zilla said, "Also, the child is disabled, and the white lesbian has a leg tattoo, as well as a full sleeve, which actually seems like possibly a hate crime." Jane Don't Lie said, "Just for spice, I'm choosing to believe the one in the hijab is trans, the white girl is Mormon, and they had the baby using the white girl's mother as a surrogate, so who also happens to be a pagan priestess, yoga instructor, and part-time congresswoman." Well, normally a company can ignore those type of comments, but what about when Muslims get upset? Here's one. You cannot claim to promote inclusion while using a religious symbol in a way that many followers of that religion find offensive. Well, unless you're Christian, right? The hijab deserves the same respect you expect for every other identity out there. Here's another one that says, "As a Muslim, respectfully, this is not in alignment. Please go watch Maria Thinks on TikTok. Her latest video explains it very well. We can live beside each other, but have different values. I don't want my children having these values." And thirdly, if that's what you decided for your own life and how you want to live, well, fair enough. But don't disrespect others' religious beliefs and boundaries and then encourage it. Oops, not good. So was this one a B or not the B? Not the B. Yeah, not the B. That was a little tougher, maybe, right? And truthfully, this is what happens when two liberal ideologies collide with reality. All right, so here's the last one, and this might be a little harder. So if you're like 4 for 4, this is your decider whether or not you win or not. All right, here we go. Disney's animatronic Biden praised as incredibly realistic after it short circuits and has speech malfunction. Disney has recently unveiled their latest addition to their Hall of Presidents attraction located in the Magic Kingdom. It now features an audio animatronic replica of President Joe Biden that exhibits stunning accuracy of its likeness. Quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by is what a short-circuiting Biden robot seemingly stuck on this loop. You know the thing. The audience erupted with clapping and praise as they had never seen such a realistic technology. Wow, that's amazing how lifelike it is. I never imagined I'd live to see such wonders. This is what Catherine Summers exclaimed. Almost makes me wonder if that's actually the real Biden up there after all. Met with such high praise, the creative teams behind the Biden bot decided to just go with it. Yeah, that's just how we programmed him, right, guys? Said Chief Engineer Garrett Nichols, secretly pouring a glass of water on the robot circuit board. We made him painstakingly accurate, down to the minute details and mannerisms. Listen here, folks. The greatest threat upon this great nation gathered here today is we need to act to save the... if you think about it, by building back, we can stop the world with the forming of a coalition. That it's just not that hard, folks. So come on, let's get mobilized. Trump and Dixon abandonment. Yeah, the animatronic Biden continued to give his speech until he suddenly was rudely interrupted by the Trump animatronic. So is that B or not the B? It was the B. But I bet it kind of made you really think about it, didn't it? Just for a moment, anyway. So anyway, just wanted to have some fun today, and been wanting to do this one for a while. Maybe we'll do it again at a future date. But anyway, would love to hear what your score was on the game. And of course, you can always do that at uncommonsensepodcast.com. Of course, we're also online. You can go to our website. You can go also, to our other streaming services and things that we're on. We're on all the different streaming services and YouTube as well. So anyway, thank you for listening.
This podcast is a production of Morganite Communications.